coming out. I hope that everyone had a lot of turkey last week. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving with their family and a beautiful long Thanksgiving weekend. As you know, since I've become the borough president, we have been addressing and tackling important issues here in the borough of the Bronx. And speaking to the staff and speaking to constituent services, we see that there are many individuals in the Bronx who come through our doors on a myriad of different issues. One of the biggest issues that we have are residents of the New York City Housing Authority who come into our doors and they have a lot of concerns. And so today what I'm doing is I'm announcing a New York City Housing Authority Advisory Council with the individuals that are behind me and many more who could not make it today. And this is an advisory council that's going to meet once a month. Our next meeting will be January 13th. This is an advisory council that's made up of over 50 members, of leaders, of residents who live in the New York City Housing Authority. They are representing the over 130 developments that we have in the Bronx. They represent the tens of thousands of residents who live on our borough, and they're going to do so because my office and myself, we want people from the public housing and from the New York City Housing Authority to understand that as we push forward a Bronx agenda, that public housing and the New York City Housing Authority will not be forgotten. That's why you are there to be our eyes and ears. You will not be forgotten. Today, we announced this housing task force, which will, I said again, be made up of all of the leaders and residents of the Bronx housing developments. The task force has been formed so that we can have discussions on tenant issues, so that we can continue to, they can continue to arm me with information on issues of quality of life, on issues of safety, involvement on the decision-making process. We see that the New York City Housing Authority and government tends to make decisions that affect the daily lives of our residents with very little input. And quite often they may have a tenant meeting, an association meeting, and what I've seen in the past as an elected official is in these meetings the tenants could overwhelmingly be in favor of one thing or against another, and they will make their issues or concerns abundantly clear to New York City Housing Authority and to the City of New York, and yet those concerns are never, ever taken into serious consideration when they're moving forward with these decision process, and that needs to stop. We also want to ensure that as we move forward, that people realize that in the past, I have been supportive of what's called Sound Housing Campaign. And the Sound Housing Campaign is a call for the city and the state of New York to fully fund for the state of New York $64 million in state-built developments. We want the city of New York to fully fund $30 million in city in built developments, and we want for the New York City Housing Authority to not have to absorb the cost of over $70 million in sanitation and policing costs. Those that we believe are dollars that are taken away from the quality of life, from the infrastructure of NYCHA. Those are dollars that should be put in by the City of New York and the NYPD and the Sanitation Department. We also want to be an integral part of the conversation that is taking place with housing and HUD and the federal government. And we know that there have been over $100 million in stimulus money that has gone to the New York City Housing Authority for weatherization. Now, we want, of course, for our infrastructure, we want for us to have safer windows and new windows, and we also want better elevators and make sure that our elevators are safe. We want cameras for safety issues, but we also need to be more innovative. And this is one of the things that I would like to come out of my conversation with my now advisory and housing task force. When you speak of weatherization, we want New York City Housing Authority to be greener in their approach. We want there to be solar panels on, and we want to figure out a way of how we do that. How do we have solar panels? How do we have green roofs? How do we have farms in the sky in the New York City Housing Authority so residents can have vegetables and greenery, and our young men and women could feel a sense of not only ownership of where they live, but also learn something about greening the environment and be healthier while they're doing it. How is it that we're going to get men and women who live in the New York City Housing Authority to play a key role in terms of employment when you're speaking of $100 million in federal money alone, or more than that, in the rebuilding of the infrastructure? How do we make sure that our residents are the ones who are employed and get employment opportunities? How is it that we train them and we give them the skills to do so? So I am totally proud of the diverse, of the intellectual capital that we see standing behind me. I am proud of the energy and the commitment of the many men and women who are standing here, who are not doing so today for the very first time. They have been doing it and working at this for many, many years. We have hundreds of collective years of community and tenant involvement standing behind me. We are going to put forth a substantive agenda. This is not going to be an advisory of pointing fingers, but one that is going to be substantive, one that is going to work with the chairman of the New York City Housing Authority, one who wants to work with the mayor of the city of New York, with the city council, and anyone else who wants what we want, which is a better future for the Bronx, and especially in this case, a better future for the residents who live